A lot has happened since I last updated you. I went through, I believe, I did my February wrap up was my last video that I posted on my YouTube. And then the next video that I wanted to post, I wanted to do a read with me as I read The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. And I started, and we'll do some clips from that too. But it just kind of fell apart because one thing, I'm new to this YouTube thing. So I'm not good at always recording when I pick up my book. 2, I am a mom, so finding time to record is difficult when it's quiet in here and all the things. Like I said, I have a 3.5-year-old, and I just read books really fast. So anyway, you'll see some clips of me reading The Great Alone, but I finished it and I'm here to give my final thoughts, so let's hit that. My next video was going to be a read Daisy Hates with me, because I did a read Magnolia Parks with me, and that didn't happen because when I filmed my February wrap-up, I was like 150 pages into Daisy Hates. That was yesterday morning, and now it's done. It's done because I could not stop reading. I cannot believe the ending, and if I don't keep reading, I'm going to be in a huge slump after reading that. And part of me is like, well, Brie, take the time to kind of decompress, process that book, but I just can't, because it's going to live in my head like no other. I was about 70 pages from finishing Daisy Hates, and I literally was like, I am going to Google the ending. Like, I can't stand this, like, anxiety and, like, the unknown of what was coming for the end of that book. And now I'm just left speechless. I have the 3rd book in the series being mailed to me right now, so that way, like, I can get through that one, because I want to get back to Magnolia and BJ, and then get back to Daisy Hates, because I have to know what happens. I am rooting for her and Christian so hard. I swear, if they do not end up together, I'm rooting for them way more than I would probably root for, like, Magnolia and BJ at this point. But I will say, okay, now this is just getting into, like, a whole Magnolia Parks. Like, this needs to be a separate video. Anyway, I was going to give myself the day and, like, not read another book and, like, start a new book tomorrow, but we're not doing that because I need to keep reading. Otherwise, I will be just at a loss, and Daisy Hates is an easy 5-star for me. But anyway, we are moving into something totally different than I've ever read. And we are going to do a read with me of The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. Get invested in something else, and I feel like this will be a good thing to get invested in. So let's go ahead. Let's start The Great Alone. Also, I want to mention, this is my first Kristin Hannah book, and I know people really, really love her reading. So I'm really excited to give it a try and see what I think. Because there's other things I want to read by her as well. But this is what we're starting with. Brady Lockerbie is who inspired me to read this on TikTok. So we are going to give right, this is my first Kristin Hannah book. This is The Great Alone, obviously. This is a thick read. I think it was like 550 pages or around there. And it took me 5 or 6 days to finish. I try to read 100 pages a day. And overall, I gave this book a 4 stars. In this book, you follow Lenny, who is 13, the year is 1974, and she has her mom, Cora, and her dad, Ernst, and they're the Albright family. Her dad was a prisoner of war in Vietnam, and when he comes back, he's definitely suffering from some PTSD. They're living in Seattle, and things just aren't great for them. They don't have a lot of money. They're kind of barely scraping by, and they're doing kind of everything they can to stay above water. Ernst gets a letter in the mail from a man in Alaska, and that man is the father of someone who Ernst was in war with, who had passed away. This letter read, "My son left you his land in Alaska. If you want it, it's yours." And the Kristin Hannah kind of describes Ernst as a man that's just always looking for the next opportunity. And Lenny looks at her dad as, well, this is just another one of his ideas. Another one of his ideas, but things aren't going to get better. But they do end up moving. So like I said, year's 1974, and they move to Alaska. At this point in the book, we start to notice some family dynamic things. Ernst, like I said, he struggles with PTSD. He seems to have some anger as well. And at this point in the book, we don't know if abuse is happening. It's just kind of alluding to it. We do find out later on that it's true. But anyway, they move to Alaska. They don't know anything about living in Alaska or anything like that. So they are very fortunate. A lot of their neighbors in this remote part of Alaska welcome them right away. They're there to help them and to guide them and trying to prepare them for winter, because that's kind of a big idea of this book, is being prepped for winter. Winter is very scary. There's a lot of things that could go wrong if you're not ready for it. Key players we have at this point, we have Large Marge. She owns the general store in the town that they live in, and I just kind of smile even saying her name because she just seems like an incredible woman, and she's super fun to listen to in the book. So we have her, and we have Tom Walker. He is a neighbor to the Albright family. Also, he's kind of the ruler of the town. His parents had a homestead there, and they've kind of built it up, and he's kind of the guy that calls the shots. And right away, Ernst has an issue with him. He feels like Tom thinks he's better than everyone else, and that he has this elitist mindset, which is not the truth. But that's kind of how Ernst takes it, because he's an insecure man himself. Like I said, he has PTSD. He follows a lot of conspiracies. He's just not on a good path. Lenny does get to start school there, which is nice, and she meets Matthew. Matthew ends up being a huge component in Lenny's life, and their story just grows from there. The book is broken up into sections. So we have like 1974, so we have 13-year-old Lenny, and then we have 1978, where we have 17-year-old Lenny, and then I don't remember what year it goes to, but she becomes 19 and then onward. Lenny lives a very difficult life. A lot of tragedy. I kind of gave you the beginning synopsis of what you can see, but the story just builds from there. A lot of tragedy, a lot of heartbreak, and there was a point in this book that I was ugly crying, ugly crying, and it was just the writing and the emotion. It was so raw, and it was so real, and you look at this girl's life, and you just cry because it is very sad. This is my first Kristin Hannah book I've read. This is my first historical fiction book I've read, and I really enjoyed it. The reason it wasn't a full 5-star for me was because in some ways this book kind of drug along. She was really, really trying to build the picture, give you the visuals, which I appreciate. But then when big things would happen, it felt like that was rushed, and I didn't get out of it what I needed to. So the story, like I said, it could drag, and then it would hit a really good point, and then it would just kind of fall down. And I was just like, we could have done more with that moment. That's kind of how I felt. But overall, it was a great read. I didn't connect a ton to the characters. I know a lot of people rate this 5-star. It's just not a typical book that I would read, so I didn't have that connection. But I had the emotion, the interest, all of that was there while reading this book. Definitely gave me insight as to how Alaska was, and like I said, she makes the Alaska and just the world that she's writing come alive. So it was very interesting read. I definitely do recommend it to other people. Like I said, not a full 5-star for me, but I recommend for other people to read, just to get in on Kristin Hannah's writing. People are obsessed with how she writes, and I get it. It's a beautiful, beautiful way of writing. She creates a story, and I love that about that. And I love Lenny's strength in this book, her endurance to keep going, and her will to keep going. Because I look at this and I'm like, this is someone who could have just thrown in the towel and said, you know what, I'm done. And she doesn't. She's very resilient, and she falls in love with Alaska, and I just love her strength. I admire it, and for sure. So this was my first read of March, second read behind Daisy Hates. So second read of the month, 4 stars.